Allora vi ringrazio molto.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Konstantinos, and I would also like to thank all of you. Italy is undoubtedly a very beautiful country, but Greece is equally, if not more beautiful. Mr. President, we also share the emotion you feel. Here today, we are a rather large delegation from Italy, because apart from Alberto Tobi, who, as you all know, is a representative of Italy in PGU, he is also the president of Federfarma, that has its headquarters in Palermo, and he is also a member of the national group of Federfarma. So apart from the president, we have other representatives of Federfarma who are present here today. We have, for example, Maria Pia with us, who last night actually gave us a tour here in the country. I would like to address on behalf of all the pharmacists of Italy this meeting, and I would like to convey their greetings. I will give my presentation in English so that all of you can follow my presentation and have the proceedings in English. I would like to say a few words before I turn to English. The Greek problems are similar to the problems that we encounter in Italy. Mr. President, you almost cried when you saw the picture, and we understand why. And Roberto is here with us today, and he can actually narrate what is going on at the shores of Sicily. The problem of migration is a problem that has afflicted greatly Italy and Greece. These are the two countries that have suffered the consequences of this problem. We help these families, we help the migrants and the refugees, but on that Roberto will give you more details later on. If you could upload my presentation, please. We had sent it. What must I do? Can somebody help me, please?
Avevamo mandato il...
The comment was off microphone.
Sì, so che l'avevano mandata, ma se no non importa, lo faccio.
Yes, we had sent the presentation, but if you can't find it, doesn't matter. Roberto, maybe you could give the presentation now so we can upload it. In the meantime, I would like to tell you that towards the end of my presentation, I would present to you a draft of law that pertains to the change of the ownership status of community pharmacies. But before I do that, I would like to say, following the words of the president of PGU and of the president of the Greek Pharmaceutical Association, that what we are trying to do is to explain to the European governments what is going on. And maybe in order to convince them, in order to let them understand what is going on, we should give them some figures. What does European pharmacy mean when it comes to state savings? If we give figures, then maybe we can get some more results, since the states cannot perceive that the drug, the medicine, is not commercial merchandise, but it is a public good. We need to explain to them how much pharmacies can contribute to savings. We have to try and explain all these things to the representatives of states, and we also have to try to explain to all governments of the European member states that if a medicine is a new medicine, it will not be only dispensed through hospitals. No, these new medicines should also be dispensed by community pharmacies. As Constantine, we have a lot of services which are offered by the pharmacists, and this is something that we have managed to guarantee also by law, a law that was voted in 2009. We don't have yet a national agreement. We have, however, many municipal agreements. For example, the Italian municipalities and prefectures make referrals. They also are involved in telemedicine. In other words, we are heading towards legislation covering the services offered by the pharmacists. And this legislation that will cover the services will inevitably ensure a better coverage of the needs of the population. You said something about a €5 fee for hospitals. We paid €2.50 in Italy. And in the past, this amount was great, but we managed to reduce it, and this, of course, helped the savings. Figures are necessary. Now, with regard to the services offered, we have in our disposal all the electronic platforms which exist out there. And I'm not talking only about telemedicine, platforms for telemedicine. I'm not talking only about platforms including the numbers and names of nurses. No, we have various different platforms that facilitate our work. Of course, Italy is a larger country than Greece, but we do also have a rather difficult morphology, and that is why we try to help all pharmacies to provide the necessary services. Of course, there was a contract that was signed between the pharmacists and the state. This contract expired in 1998, and therefore a new contract could actually ensure homogeneity in the country. Roberto, if you cannot upload the presentation, it doesn't matter. I will start anyway.
And the ownership, this is the title of my speech today. In Italy, the private pharmacy can be owned now, in this moment, only by pharmacists. Partnership and cooperative among pharmacists, not more than 4 pharmacies for the cooperative of pharmacists. The municipal pharmacy, the public pharmacy, can be managed by companies. Only in this moment, the public pharmacy, not the private pharmacy. We are 60 million of inhabitants, and we have 12,200 pharmacies. About of these, 1,600 are public pharmacy owned by municipalities. And of these, more of 300 are managed by wholesalers. Celesio, Phoenix, Allianz, now Celesio is called Lloyd's, and other. We talk about, for many years, of the framework of pharmacy establishment and the legislative provision regarding the right distribution of pharmacy on the territory, taking the following criteria. In Italy, we have 1 pharmacy every 3,300 inhabitants, but in a few months, we will have more pharmacy, about 3,000 more of pharmacy for the new law, for a law that was born in 2012. And so this about 3,000 new pharmacies will be soon opened, just for the end of the year. The distance between the pharmacies is 200 meters, but the so-called topographic criteria used to open pharmacies, notwithstanding the democratic criteria in areas suffering problems, is difficulty to reach some part of the territorium. Ce la state facendo con le diapositive, Roberto? Ok. Allora, I tell you, one pharmacy every 3,340 inhabitants, and as a consequence of the new opening, the average ratio will become one pharmacy every 2,900 inhabitants, from 3,300 to 2,900. I will show you some slides when are ready of the new opening, differently from region to region. What will arrive in 2 or 3 days from Tuesday, next Tuesday, because next week there will be in Italian Parliament new decision, and I try to show you. In these latest years, the antitrust authority in Italy sent many advice to government in order to liberalize the ownership and the establishment criteria. 6 years ago, a law was approved on competition issues. Inside this is a provision asking government to present any yearly, every year, draft law in order to increase the competition in all economic sectors following antitrust authority advices. In 2015, this year, the government decides for this time to present to Parliament the competition draft law. And here we are. In April, this year in April, before the formal presentation of the draft law, a deeper regulation was suggested in order to afford parapharmacies to sell not reimbursable drug. We have this problem that I think you don't have. At the same time, establishment criteria would have been relaxed or abolished. Allora, in our view, in Federfarma, these two options will have a negative impact on the citizen health and would mean the end of the existing profitability of the Italian pharmacies as states by the Court of Justice of the Luxembourg, of the European Union, and the Italian Constitutional Court. In fact, the European Court of Justice states in 2013 the full legitimacy of Italian rules regarding the exclusive sale in community pharmacies of prescription-only medicines. The rationale of this exclusivity is directly linked with establishment rules, as these ones were intended by the legislator with the aim to assure a safe and quality distribution of medicines in all the national territory. So, The loss of this exclusivity in order to open the market to parapharmacies would have been a vulnus to profitability of the pharmacy network. In fact, parapharmacies without any establishment criteria could decide to open their outlet in order to sell prescription only medicine in the most profitable area of the country. The parapharmacy has in the best view of the big cities, not where it is not profitable, sure. This could bring as a consequence the deterioration of the service quality of pharmacy network and at the end the risk of closure of many community pharmacies. I talk about the Italian Constitutional Court. This is its ruling of 18 July 1214, reached very similar conclusion in a case submitted by some parapharmacists, Venturini, la causa Venturini. And first of all, the right to health is one of the fundamental principles of the Italian Constitution. The principle has been transported in the ordinary law regulating the correct distribution of community pharmacies in all the national territory, the establishment criteria, as I told before. So, the establishment criteria was planned in order to avoid the concentration of outlets in the most profitable areas and to give a correct pharmaceutical service both to the big cities and to the rural zones. Parapharmacy and pharmacies have not the same obligation, as the latter have many duties in order to assure the correct protection of all citizen health. For this reason, a different regulation between pharmacy and parapharmacies, even if both requires the mandatory presence of the pharmacist, cannot be considered as unreasonable. In Italy, we have 3,800 parapharmacies, even if the registered parapharmacy in health minister are 5,600, but parapharmacies need no authorization and they must only submit an application to health minister. So this is molto grave. We arrive at a new law. April 2015, the draft law was formally presented to the Italian Parliament, and there was a great struggle between the Minister of Health, Lorenzini, that you meet when you went to Rome 2 years ago, and the Minister of Economic Development, Mrs. Guidi. Cioè, the Health Minister Lorenzini took position against the proposal of extending to parapharmacies the possibility of selling non-reimbursable drug. And only the contrary, a brand new provision was included regarding the opening of the ownership to companies. Quindi no reimbursable drugs outside, but change the ownership of the proprietary of the pharmacy. Allora, next week, as I told you before, the Parliament will begin its work from Tuesday 8th. We understand the dangers behind this choice, as the big chains get all the instruments to enter in force into the pharmacy market. But at the same time, we are convinced to have the opportunity, as told before, to organize a strong support to the network of the independent pharmacy. One thing that we have to do, surely we must limit the superpower of the big chains. And the following are the options we are trying to propose next week as amendment to the competition draft law. What we want to tell to the government. First one, 3 things. To maintain the incompatibility rules in force for pharmacists, even for companies. Production and brokerage of pharmaceutical products, physician. Second, to create a register of companies controlled by the Chamber of Pharmacists. And third, to limit the not pharmacist shares in every single company at not more than 49%. But this will be quite impossible to sustain, we think. At the same time, we must monitor the situation because a proposal of liberalization of not reimbursable drugs is not definitely set aside. They go on. In the paper, in the newspaper of these days in Italy, despite the Court of Justice, the Constitutional Court, the big interest of the della grande distribuzione. Allora, the roadmap, the first amendment of the draft law will be discussed, as I told you, from September 8, 2 days. We suppose in October the draft law could be approved in the lower house in order to begin the approval procedure in the Senato of the Republic. And the draft law should be approved not later than the end of the year. So in Italy we will have a great change, but if the draft law will be approved in a sustainable manner for independent pharmacies, we are convinced to have the possibility to invest in the near future professional and economic resources in new pharmacy service for our patient. E allora voglio finire nella mia lingua, naturalmente mettendo...
And now I would like to finish this intervention in my own language. Roberto and Maria will all be at your disposal for any questions you may have. There is no doubt that in Italy there is also a great reduction of prices of all generics. We are a healthy market. We are a market which is a market that may fall prey to the big companies and big distributors. That is why we are going to carry on with our struggle. Our struggle aims at ensuring that no POMs will be dispensed outside pharmacies. And that is why in the coming weeks, Federfarma will give a very strong battle, of course. We cannot prevent the inflow of capitals, but we will try to regulate it in the best way we can in order to ensure that the ownership status will be governed by specific rules and regulations, and on the basis of which the pharmacists will have the final say. Dear colleagues, we can do many things. The same stands for us in Italy. It is a great pleasure to be here today and to see that all people from other countries have the same desire. Last night, somebody asked me about deregulation, liberalization, better. It is a very important issue, liberalization. In order for everyone to understand what it means exactly, we need to use figures. We need to use figures in order to show to those who are interested how pharmacies can actually reduce the state expenditure on health. The expensive drugs, we do not sell expensive drugs. We have a hospital expenditure that is constantly rising. these are all trends of the present. That is why we need to explain to the people how pharmacies can contribute to savings. And that is why we will use these figures in order to convey our message. And we also believe that together, united, we can do great things. We believe in Europe. We believe what PGU can do for our pharmacies.